Oh, Nikolai Petrovich. But you die before you get to the pond, and on the way back you die again. You see, there's no shade in the garden. That's true, there's no shade, said Nikolai Petrovich, wiping his forehead. One day at 7 o'clock in the morning, Bazarov was returning from a walk and encountered Fenishka in the lilac arbor, which had long ceased to flower but was still thick with green leaves. She was sitting on the bench and had as usual thrown a white kerchief over her head. Beside her lay a whole heap of red and white roses still wet with dew. He said good morning to her. "Oh, Yevgeny Vassilitch," she said, and lifted the edge of her kerchief a little in order to look at him, in doing which her arm was bared to the elbow. "What are you doing here?" said Bazarov, sitting down beside her. "Are you making a bouquet?" "Yes, for the table at lunch. Nikolai Petrovich likes it. But lunch is still a long way off." "What a mass of flowers. I gathered them now, for it will be hot later on and one can't go out. Even now one can only just breathe. I feel quite weak from the heat. I'm quite afraid I may get ill." "What an idea! Let me feel your pulse." Bazarov took her hand, felt for the evenly throbbing pulse but did not even start to count its beats. "You'll live 100 years, he said, dropping her hand. "Ah, God forbid!" she cried. "But why? Don't you want a long life?" "Well, but 100 years. We had an old woman of 85 near us, and what a martyr she was. Dirty, deaf, bent, always coughing, she was only a burden to herself. What kind of a life is that? So it's better to be young." "Well, isn't it? But why is it better? Tell me. How can you ask why?" "Why, here am I, now I'm young, I can do everything, come and go and carry, and I don't need to ask anyone for anything. What can be better?" "But it's all the same to me, whether I'm young or old." "How do you mean, all the same? It's impossible what you say." "Well, judge for yourself, Fedosia Nikolaevna, what good is my youth to me? I live alone, a solitary man. That always depends on you." "It doesn't all depend on me. At least someone ought to take pity on me." Fenishka looked sideways at Bazarov, but said nothing. "What's that book you have?" she said, after a short pause. "That? It's a scientific book, a difficult one." "Are you still studying? Don't you find it dull?" "I should think you must know everything already." "Evidently not everything." "You try to read a little of it." "But I don't understand a word of it." "Is it Russian?" asked Fenishka, taking the heavily bound book in both hands. "How thick it is!" "Yes, it's Russian." "All the same, I shan't understand anything." "Well, and I don't want you to understand it. I want to look at you while you are reading. When you read, the tip of your nose moves so nicely." Fenishka, who had started to spell out in a low voice an article on creosote she had chanced upon, laughed and threw down the book. It slipped from the bench to the ground. "I like it too when you laugh," remarked Bazarov. "Oh, stop. I like it when you talk. It's like a little brook babbling."